How you doing? Now the other day I went out into the wilds of Saskatchewan and I went and picked myself up a bunch of cattails, which I harvested. Now what I've done is I've taken the roots and cleaned them, and the roots are very very starch filled. If you look here, what I've done is I've put them in water, and I've actually refilled this bowl about 2 or 3 times, and I've cleaned them and I've let the starch bleed out of them, because cattails are extremely starchy. And that's the roots. And I'll be frying those up in the frying pan and I'll be eating them. Then we have the stems. So what we've done is we've taken the stems off, trimmed them all down, and taken all the leaves off. And basically you gotta peel them to get down to the white meat down at the center, which is what I'm going to show you here. Oh, now you see, when you cut them with the stem on, like this, a lot of resistance there. Once you get through that, you peel off the outer layer, like so. It actually takes a wee bit of work to prepare these things. It really does. Now there is nothing bad about the cattail at all. Now you see I've peeled that away, and see how much easier that cuts. And you put it in a bowl. Continue to peel. Now what I'm doing here with all these peelings that I got, I'm throwing them into a bucket. Now you can use those peelings like leaves. You can use them for basket weaving if that's your thing, or you can burn them. Once you burn or compost them, once you burn or compost these things, you can use them as an antiseptic, or make a poultice out of them. If you don't know how to make a poultice, don't worry, not a lot of people do nowadays. But if you're out living in the wilderness or spending a great deal of time there, cut off from the rest of society, knowing these things can be handy. And there we go. There's a fair amount of work preparing these things. Can be, anyway. Now, I like to cut them in about 1-inch segments. Makes them very friable, which is exactly how you cook these. It's kind of like asparagus, actually. Which means if you don't cook them very properly, they can be stringy as all hell. There we go, that's pretty much one of them. Right there. Now here's a bunch more that I did earlier. And what these are soaking in apple cider vinegar. Not for everybody's taste, I just like apple cider vinegar. But cider acts as a disinfectant, cleaning agent. Brings up the taste and kind of, I guess you say, chemically cooks them. Now you might like normal vinegar or another flavor of vinegar. What I'm going to do now, though, I'm going to take my bowl of roots. I'm going to fry them up over there on the stove. And that's the plan. Now, while I'm preparing the stove to cook my roots, we'll take a look at these leftover leaves. You see there's a lot of them. And my plan is to let them dry a little bit. There's some more over here. And one of the things I try to do with the leaves is a little bit of weaving. And I've come to the inescapable conclusion that I suck at weaving. And then of course we have the cattail heads. Now there's not a lot you can do with these at this point because they're all flowered and ready to go, but you can use them as a torch by dipping them in oil and stuff like that. And a few other things you can scrape up the fluff and just powderize it, like pull the fluff off like that. And this actually is something you can put in any tinderbox you got out there in the wild, because it actually lights fairly decently. And of course, you can dip them in oil, stuff like that. So we're going to go back inside, let those dry, decide to do them later, and then we're going to cook up some roots. So anyway, right now I'm going to cook up these roots. I'm going to fry them. And you're supposed to treat them like potatoes. Well, when I cook up my potatoes, I tend to like a little onion and a little bit of garlic. So let's do a little quick preparation, shall we? Now, some people smash their garlic. I don't want to smash my garlic very often. I mean, for some recipes it calls for it. I prefer my garlic sliced. Oh, unless you take entire chunks like this and you stick it in the stove and slow roast it in butter. That's a way to eat garlic. I'm now going to grab some of our potato, some of our root here. Slice it a little thicker. Throw it in there. The root is very nutritious. Lots of proteins. Other good things. But you got to be careful, because there's a thing out there called water rot. Water rot looks a bit like this right here. And I guess my stove is preheated enough. It looks that black stuff. Now, this is probably good to eat because it's not really that black, but I figure why risk it? Maybe in a survival situation you can be a little bit less discerning. And I figure, why bother? Now, this one's got black rot through it too, but we'll just go to another piece. I mean, we got plenty here. That's good. That's good. Now, as I said, I did let these sit overnight so that they would be less starchy. Some people don't like a lot of starch in their diet. And this is just how I'm preparing these things. You can actually leave all the stringy pieces on them if you want and eat those too. But of course, if it's coming out of the swamp or the marsh, you want to make sure it's clean and semi-prepped properly. Or safely anyway. You know. I mean, you could eat these raw. I've already done so. There we go. Give myself a nice good bowl there. Some people prefer wood cutting boards, some people prefer plastic cutting boards. But they all got their arguments about how plastic can release toxins and how wood can absorb materials from meat or whatever and make it unsafe to use. I use a glass cutting board. Kind of eliminates all that stuff. Just don't break it. It's tempered. It's good anyway. I'm going to take these over to the stove and cook them up and eat them. Alright then. We have spatula. We have frying pan. Let's add our goodies. And just because we can, we'll add a little bit more oil. Okay, maybe that was a lot more oil. But I find oil, and plenty of it, gives you an even burn or even cook. Especially if you're doing something like pierogies and you want to slow cook them and get them golden brown, put an extra oil. Alright, let's see now. I haven't a whole lot of experience cooking cattails myself, but I like potatoes. Let me get back here. And as always, it's good to keep yourself well hydrated. Now, it can be admitted that if you were in a survival situation, you probably won't have the luxury of adding spices. But I'm not in a survival situation. I'm in the kitchen, so I'm going to add some spices. And really, if you're backpacking, you might as well pick up some spices. Just throw them in your backpack. There are some little camper sets. They're a container about as big as this lemon pepper. And they've got a variety of spices in them. They're specifically made so you can go camping. If you're into a survivalist, you got a bug out bag, you know, it's not just so much that you need to survive. You can live a little. Pack yourself some spices when you go. Generally speaking, stoves ain't supposed to do that. What? That actually started to smell really good. Like to note the full sleeve shirt. General rule of kitchen cooking, don't cook bacon naked. Just don't do it. Yeah, that was me eating a piece. I wanted to see if it was cooked properly. Because when you're cooking anything from the wild, especially in a swamping or urban setting, you got to make sure it's cooked properly to eliminate any chance of bacteria or things of that nature. Survivalist skills aside, you don't want to kill yourself training, do you? I'm going to take it off the stove for the burn. Well, what I've done now is I've pretty much cooked them up in the stove. They're all well cooked, and with anything that is particularly greasy, such as fried potatoes or bacon or things like that, if you're healthy minded, it's a good idea to get rid of the grease. So, pour everything into there, get rid of the excess grease. Hot water is good. Make sure that stuff gets flushed down the sink. It does not end up in your P-trap. And we're just going to let the grease seep out of that a wee bit, and it should be ready to eat. Well, it's been about it's been about 5 minutes of letting the grease get soaked out of that. And I'll grab my bowl. Give it a rinse. Now we're gonna take our dish, which is now we're gonna take our dish, which is now muchly grease-free. As you can see, they're all pretty well fried. This is what you want. Look at all that grease that I'm not eating. That's a trick I learned from bacon, by the way. And there we go. There's our dish of our cattails. And I'm going to throw a little salt in there. And there we go. We have our dish, cattails. Onion, and a little bit of garlic. Oh, they are very much like potatoes. Now, consistency ain't too bad. A couple of stem chunks in there, a bit stringy, but you get that from other vegetables like asparagus. This is actually really good. A little bit of salt, lightly spiced. I prefer lightly spiced because you get too heavy into the spices, you don't get to enjoy the flavor of the food you're eating. These really are good. Anyway, that was harvesting, collecting, preparing, cooking, and eating. We call them a cattail. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you later. This is good.